Okay, this is Lucky Lynx. Good afternoon. I think this is the coolest video I've done ever because I'm so excited about this. I just got my Once Upon a Time Oracle. The neat thing about this is that each one of these, this is a Lenormand deck. This is my Lenormand deck based on years of studying fairy tales in all the years when I was a writing professor, all the years of my literature degrees, my 10 years in college, graduate school, undergraduate school, doing work with stories, having seen tarot decks done in the fairy tale and never going, well, why didn't they use this story? I finally got it, my Once Upon a Time Oracle. This is Lenormand through the eyes of fairy tales. If you want to understand the card, all you have to do is read the fairy tale. Now, each one of these, the images on these and the stories for all of these are public domain. All you go through things like Project Gutenberg, and if you get a chance, download the Fairy Cabinet, Andrew Lang's Fairy Cabinet. This was something I had to buy years ago. I had to buy the whole thing. Now you can get the whole thing through Project Gutenberg in an EPUB version. Read it on your phone. This thing I carried with me everywhere I've moved. I've carried these fairy tales with me. You can get them all on your phone now. I think it's amazing. I love technology. So, that said, this is my Lenormand deck, my fairy tale. It is out of order because I literally, 2 minutes before reading, I just had a client, 2 minutes before it came in the mail, I opened it up and used it. So it's all out of order already because I've already used it. It is fantastic. I love it. And so I'm going to share it with you. I have said that I reordered the correspondences, and I did. And I'm not sure if I should tell you that now. Maybe I'll do another video where I tell why. 8 of Hearts, that's the house. 3 little pigs. 4, the house. 3 little pigs. The Lily. That's from The Lily of Life, which was written by, for those of you who know, is actually written by an actual royalty. What was her name? I'll put it in the comments. Her Royal Highness. She actually wrote this very amazing fairy tale. You can get it online. It's public domain now. She was a very interesting queen. She had a lot of political power. She had a real good ability to move people around. This story is brilliant. The Lily of Life. Many of you know the lilies to be about renewal, rebirth, purity. All of those themes are in this story. Also the lover, because this usually comes up as a lover or sexuality. Strongly in this story. It's all in there. The key, Bluebeard. Who really was playing who in this story? Was she playing him or was he playing her? Bluebeard, the key. 33, the key. This is the anchor. 35, anchor is King Arthur and the sword of Excalibur coming out of the water. The ship, Tristan and Isolde. Now, those of you who know Russian playing cards, when the ship comes in Russian playing cards, the ship tends to indicate romance, adventure, excitement, and quite frankly, the ship does in Lenormand represent those things. And what better story to represent that but Tristan and Isolde? The bouquet. That's what is this one? The Castle of Kierkegaard? Is that it? The Castle of Kierkegaard? I always forget how to say that. The Castle of Kierkegaard. I'll tell you right now. This is the Vale of Pleasure, where the young, they call him the young idiot in the story. The Castle of Kierkegaard. This is 9 of Hearts. Kyrgyz, that's how you say it. Kyrgyz, the Castle of Kyrgyz. I always forget how to say that. So it's Castle of Kyrgyz, and this is the Pleasure Vale. He wanders through the Pleasure Vale and has to sort of prevent himself from indulging in the pleasure. But it also has to do with beauty, pleasure. Just love the way this card came out. Okay. The mountains. The mountain. Brave little tailor. That's the giants. It was a huge obstacle he had to overcome. The brave little tailor. Some call it the valiant little tailor. The child. This is my favorite child from any story. This dips out of fable and fairy tale and goes into children's literature. This is Anne of Green Gables, Anne Shirley. The ultimate child. She wanted an adventure. She wanted bosom companions. That's her bosom companion. And those of you who remember, do you remember the tea set where she got her best friend drunk? That's an homage to that. This is the Star. It is The Moth and the Star by Thurber, James Thurber. Now, he's also not a traditional fairy tale or fable, but he is one of my all-time favorite fairy tale authors, nonetheless. Turn of the last century, 20th century. I have 2 stories by him in this deck. This is, going on in spite of what people tell you can't, or achieving what people tell you can't, and having the hope and the optimism too. The Tower, of course, is Rapunzel. The Man, Iron John, or Iron Hans. The ultimate story of the wild man. The Sun is from the fable of the North Wind and the Sun, Aesop's fable. One of my favorite stories from when I was a kid. It tells you about how to make things happen in a warm way rather than in a forceful way, which tells you a lot about how the sun works. This is a Russian fable, a Russian tale about the rooster and the scythe. This is the scythe. The clouds. That is the ugly duckling. And those of you who know Lenormand, you know that quite often the way a Lenormand clouds work, one side is the dark side, one side is the light side. And when you read them, the side on the dark side is moving into the side on the light side. So if you read it, it's like, okay, well, something's changing from dark to light, or this is temporary, this is going to pass. It could mean confusion or not knowing what you really are, which the duck didn't. He didn't know he was a swan. But also I did it with the traditional going from dark to light. So whatever ends up on the light side is what you're moving towards, or what's going to end up towards. And then the dark side is what you're moving out of. Okay? So it can be sort of a cause and effect card that way too. So, ugly duckling. The Coffin. That is Snow White. The moment after she ate the apple, went through transition. The Fox. And I wanted to really capture the optimistic side of the fox, because quite often the fox comes up as a negative thing for people, or just as the job for people. And I wanted it to be, this is a fable of the fox and the monkey. That's an Aesop, the fox and the monkey. It talks about the positive aspects and how clever the fox is. This is the Fox and the Grapes, which talks about what not to do as a fox, sour grapes kind of thing. Okay, the fish. The man and the man and the fisherman and his wife, or the fisherman and the goldfish. It's a wonderful story about what true wealth is and about when enough is enough. By the way, I would like to say in that accord, one of the reasons why I turned this one to the Jack of Diamonds rather than what it used to be is I don't see this as the King of Diamonds kind of card, or as an Eight of Diamonds kind of card, depending upon what. Because I had considered moving it. Usually the Jack of Diamonds indicates in cartomancy a successful business, good news, or a successful business venture. But you don't. But the King of Diamonds would indicate that it's the money or wealth, or that kind of wealth is at the top, and it's not. Money is not everything, as this story shows. Possessions and amassing possessions is not what it's on. So I made it a Jack, to indicate that is an immature view as well, to think that it's the ultimate. So there was reasons behind every. I'll go in behind why I changed in another video, in the next video, how I changed the correspondences. The Whip, Cinderella, and of course the Jack of Spades, because the whip is often associated with the devil, and people often feel bound to their jobs. This is the card of the jobs, and the Jack of Spades is the devil in cartomancy. The Woman, Scheherazade. The Snake, Rikki Tikki Tavi. And those of you who've read that story it's one of the greatest children's stories ever written by Kipling. If you haven't read it, read it. Talk about the snake in that one. and how to defend against it as well when it comes up. The cross, the scarecrow, because the cross, Evan, has to do with all of our fears and all of the things that we are afraid of, but maybe have no substance. Also, quite often it's all in our minds. And quite often what we underestimate, or the things that we put on our own shoulders, there's this wonderful quote from The Wiz, in the Wiz's version, where the scarecrow says to Dorothy, he says, "You mean the only thing that was keeping me up there on that cross was them there crows?" And she says, "Well, they told you that you couldn't, and then you believed you couldn't." So he stayed up there because he was told he couldn't. And quite often that's what happens with the cross. It has to do with things people have told us we can't do. This is the mice, city mouse, and country mouse. One of my favorite stories from when I was a kid. Sometimes the grass is not greener on the other side, and sometimes what we think is a loss is actually a gain, and vice versa. This is the storks from Hans Christian Andersen. Not crazy about some of his stuff. A lot of his stuff has some very sort of dogmatic meanings. Like, I'm not crazy about the way his Little Mermaid ends. And there's two stork stories. One of them's about the storks and how they the baby storks are being made fun of by the kids, and it's just the storks. It's not the there's another one about storks. It's the Marsh Queen. It's not that one. This is about the storks and how the baby storks grow up to gain confidence and get improvement in their life, which is what this usually indicates. And the mother suggests how the kids can get even with the human kids that were mean to them while they were growing up. So the garden is the secret garden. How a garden could bring someone back to life, or several people back to life. The message, that's Cinderella as well. It's one of my all-time favorite stories. Beauty and the Beast for the heart. The book is the Lily of Life. All of the wisdom in the world was in that book. And the old wise woman, the witch, used it to help people. The ultimate contract, the rings, is Aladdin and the genie. And this particular genie is the genie of the ring. There were two genies in it. There was one of the lamp and one of the ring. This is the genie of the ring. Two caskets is the birds, when you get help from an unexpected source. And in that case, the help was the birds. The moon is one of my all-time favorites. That's James Thurber's Many Moons, with, of course, my homage to Hey Diddle Diddle. Probably my favorite fairy tale ever, Jack and the Beanstalk, is the tree. The dog is, of course, Toto. Cinderella is the writer. Again, there's 3 Cinderellas in here because that story illustrates an awful lot of our journey, and there's a lot to be learned in it. And the pumpkin chariot, or the pumpkin coach. Maybe this is my favorite fairy tale of all time. Okay, I lied about Jack and the Beanstalk. This is Puss in Boots as the Clover, How to Make Your Fortune. Master Cat. The Bears is the 3 little bears. By the way, in the original story, it was not Goldilocks, it was not a little girl, it was an old woman who was entitled. There is a key to that meaning of the bears in that story. And the last one, Red Riding Hood and the Crossroads. She met the wolf at a crossroads, and while she went on one way to dilly-dally and do her own thing and sort of wander aimlessly, he got to the house and got rid of the grandmother. So that's it. That's the Once Upon a Time Oracle. All of these stories are public domain. You can find all of them online. Even the James Thurber, which I think are the newest ones, and the Wizard of Oz is now too. You can download the Wizard of Oz, those old images and those old things from the story. Those are all over 75 years old now. If you haven't read the collection of the Wizard of Oz, the whole book set, it's brilliant. He was an amazing writer. He really tapped into something brilliant in that world. I'm Lucky Lynx, and this is the Once Upon a Time Oracle. If you want to get a copy, I don't have it up on my Etsy. This is my first copy, just came. Email me or message me, conjurehope, CONJUREHOPE at gmail.com, and I'll tell you how to get one. I did a reading for someone already. The minute I did the reading she ordered it right after. She says, I need a copy of this. So I've already done a professional reading with it, and I love these cards. These are my new favorite go-to cards, and it is years and years of wanting to make something like this. Finally made it happen. I'll tell you why I renumbered the correspondences. I'm actually going to write it in the guide that goes with it, because I'll give you a little something that shows what the meanings are. And keep watching, because I'm going to show you how to use Lenormand in whole new ways, especially with the understanding of the fairy tales now on top of it, to help you deepen your understanding of card meanings, card combinations. It really adds a lot when you do a grand tableau and you find that story in that house. It's brilliant. So, again, I'm Lucky Lynx, wishing you success and good fortune in all you do. Thanks for letting me share my vision and my creation with you. I'll talk to you soon.